In August 2018, a pregnant woman and her two young daughters vanished from their home in Colorado. Her husband appeared on camera, begging for their safe return. But within days, the story took a shocking turn because the man asking for help, he was actually hiding the truth. And this is the story of Chris Watts and what really happened behind closed door with his wife Shannon Watts and their two children. Chris Watts appeared to have the perfect life. He lived in a suburban home in Frederick, Colorado with his wife Shannon and their two daughters, Bella and Celeste. Shannon was active on social media, often sharing videos of their family life together on Facebook. To outsiders, they look happy, stable, and successful like any normal couple. But behind the scenes, there were cracks. Financial struggles had begun to build, and the relationship was becoming very strained. And Chris, he was just starting to pull away. In the months leading up to August 2018, Chris began a relationship with a coworker. This marked a turning point in their relationship. He started imagining a different life, one without the responsibilities of his family, and his friends later say that he seemed distant and a little different. At the same time, Shanann was pregnant with their third child. She sensed something was wrong, yes, and their messages revealed tension, confusion, and concerns. On August 13, 2018, Shanann returned home from a trip in the early morning hours, and later that day, she and her children were reported missing. Chris spoke to neighbors. He appeared to be very calm. He gave interviews to the media.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
Asking for his family to come home. But something just did not feel right. A neighbor provided surveillance footage showing Chris loading his truck early that morning, and his behavior, it raised immediate suspicion. Police quickly began trying to piece things together, and Chris, he agreed to speak with investigators. Yeah, he claimed he didn't know where his family was. He was working all day. But inconsistencies in his stories, they actually began to surface. Chris, he decided that yes, he was going to take a polygraph test. But, guys, he failed. Miserable. And at that point, the pressure, it intensified. After failing the polygraph, Chris started to confess, but not fully at first. He initially claimed that Shanann harbored the children and that he reacted in anger. But this version, it didn't hold. The police were trying to get him in a lie. They gave him that idea that yes, Shanann hurt the babies, and then because of that, he was so upset that he decided to hurt Shanann. And the only reason they did this is because they knew he was lying, and if they fed him smaller details, then they would see him starting to tell the truth a little by little, and then they would eventually have to pull out the truths from in that little piece of lies that he was telling. And eventually, he admitted responsibility for all the deaths. The truth was far more disturbing than anyone expected. Chris led investigators to an oil site where he worked. There, the bodies were found. Shanann's body was buried in a shallow grave. The children, they were found in an oil tank. The details shocked the nation. It became clear that this was not a moment of panic, but a calculated act. Investigators believe the motive included his affair that he was having and the desire for a new life, along with financial pressure that he was experiencing at the moment. Chris, he had planned in building a future without his family. But instead of leaving, he chose a far darker path. Chris Watts pleaded guilty to multiple charges after he was arrested. He was then sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case, it closed quickly, but the impact remained. Chris said the last thing that he could hear his daughter saying was, "Daddy, no." And I hope that follows him for the rest of his life. But guys, the case, it drew massive attention. People were disturbed by how normal.
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
His calm demeanor, even after the disappearance, it became one of the most talked about aspects of the case. It raised a chilling question. How well do we really know the people closest to us? The story of Chris Watts is a reminder that appearance can be deceiving. A family that looked perfect from the outside was hiding something much darker within. I look at Shannon's Facebook pictures and I just can't help but think how happy she looked with her family, not knowing that there was a monster within. And in the end, the truth came out, but it was far too late. This is the story of Chris Watts and Shanann Watts and her children, Celeste and Bella. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life cases that reveals what really happened behind the headlines. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys.
We will always mourn the loss of our family. I am still struggling to understand how and why this tragedy occurred.
Chris Watts kept his head down the whole time his mother was giving her speech.
We love you. And we forgive you, son.
Chris never looked up at his mom. He kept his head down and was shaking his leg and was given an opportunity to speak, which he declined.
Would you like to make a statement?
No, sir.
His attorney then made a speech for him apologizing on his behalf.
Understands that words are hollow at this point. He is sincerely sorry for all of this.
When it was time to hear his fate for what his sentence and charges will be, his legs were shaking and he had little to no expression on his face.
Life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole.
Chris Watts was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is held in the Wisconsin prison after being transferred due to safety reasons. Chris has written back to several letters and given one interview with investigators, but besides that, has kept his silence.